Hello, beautiful lights, and welcome to another episode of From a Medium's Perspective. Today we have a special guest with us. We're going to be introducing her in just a second. We're going to be doing a show about the different dimensions, third and fourth dimensional perspectives. And then our guest is going to share some tales from the other side, and we're going to have some exercises that you can do at home. Before I introduce our guest, I'd like to say that as a medium, I've learned that our state of being offers us different perspectives, whether we're in the physical plane or whether we've crossed over to the astral plane or whether we're in the mental dimension where the universal mind dwells. And we've talked about some of those levels in our previous shows. Today's guest is going to talk to us about ways to look at life while we're still in the physical plane. Our special guest today is Dr. Linda Ferguson. She is an esteemed author, speaker, and spiritual life coach. She also leads shamanic journeys and has coordinated and led spiritual study groups and participated in worship services. Her two books, The Path for Greatness, Work as a Spiritual Service, and Staying Grounded in Shifting Sand, serve as focal points for some retreats that she has offered as well. She's going to be talking to us about viewing life from a third and fourth dimensional perspective. But before we get going, Linda, I want to introduce you and ask you to tell our listeners a little bit about the doctorate that comes before your name. That's Dr. Linda J. Ferguson. And I was curious if you could tell us a little more about where you got that and what it was about.
Sure. You know, it's so funny that the whole theme today is living in these two worlds between spirit and what we might consider sort of our 3D world. And I probably embody that as much as anybody because my master's and doctorate is in psychology and business. And yet I have this very spiritual way of being in the world, of working in the world, of working with my clients who are trying to straddle between these two worlds. So knowing what's happening on the physical plane, knowing how to navigate through this 3D world is absolutely essential. And yet there's more to it than that we can get our guidance, we can get extra assistance and support from the non-physical, or in the shamanic tradition, we would call it the non-ordinary reality. And that's, I think, what our challenge is in this new era, the 21st century, as we're learning how to awaken to our soul journey, as we're in this new millennium, the whole Aquarian era, every single one of us can learn how to stand between these two worlds. And I think it's imperative, actually, that we do.
Well, I find it somehow very satisfying that your degree was social psychology and organizational behavior, because a lot of people look at what we do as people that connect or work at the interface of the two dimensions, kind of poo-poo it away or say, oh, that's just strange, or they must be crazy. And clearly we're not, but anyway, I just love it that that's how your training evolved there. How did the idea of staying grounded in shifting sand come to you?
Well, is this pretty much the same way as with the first book? I started out thinking, well, maybe I'm going to write this book and talk on these kinds of topics. And really early on into the writing, it became very clear that I was being guided to write the book. And it was as if the spirit guides were sort of pulling me sometimes, maybe
Yes.
when I wasn't quite so ready. Really pulling me forward and saying, no, this book needs to be written. Many days I literally would sit in front of the computer and I would go into meditation and I would really quiet and center and ask Spirit, show me the way. What is it? What's the topic I need to address today? How do I say it? What story do I share? And it was from that space of centering, of connecting with Spirit, that I was able to craft the words and come up with the right stories and ideas to share.
Well, it definitely reads as inspired work. Why did you pick that particular title?
I started writing it right after September 11th. It was kind of during that time that it was kind of thrown off balance. Talking about shifting sand. we're on this place of what's happening, how do we respond, and could really feel the intense negative fear-based energy that was pervading our consciousness. And I just felt there had to be a better way. There is a better way. So as I was thinking about how do we respond to what's happening around us, talk about standing between two worlds here. We had this huge physical phenomenon, and yet it was so clear to me and to a lot of others who are on this spiritual path that it was no coincidence that our financial district, the symbol of our financial world and the symbol of our military industrial complex. So it's how do we look at what's going on in this very real, dramatic, physical way and see it through a more spiritual lens? That was so clear to me. If we know this is happening, if we know we need to respond, what's our response? We can respond out of fear. We can lash out. We can project all of our anger and fear and our insecurities onto some other group of people or some other external force. Or we can step back and go, okay, what's this showing us about us? What are the ways in which we individually and collectively need to awaken to a greater spiritual path? That was the unfolding. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, of living in these two worlds, experiencing what's happening in the 3D, and yet being able to see the greater vision, the greater unfolding with greater spiritual awareness, what's happening in this bigger realm.
A lot of times when people that are not seeking metaphysical knowledge look at topics like this, they may have sort of a latent curiosity or a mild curiosity. Why would this writing that came through you be important for just the average person?
All of us go through shifting sands. We lose a job, a family member gets ill, you name it. We all have those times when we're just slapped down. We have to just keep going through it. And it's easy in those times to get angry, to blame other people, to give up, to spiral down this really bad negative way where we can just put ourselves into a deep, dark hole. That's easy to do in our era. There's a lot of things that are going on that can make us really scared and angry and anxious. So for the average Joe, if you don't want to feel that way, if you realize what's going on is something that could easily suck you under, there is another way. And that's searching for, finding an opening to a spiritual awakening, a spiritual guidance, a spiritual wisdom that will help you stay grounded in those shifting sands of your life.
Now, you refer to 7 steps of the transformational empowerment. Can you tell us a little bit about the premise of those 7 steps?
So as part of the book that I was writing, it was somewhat later on as I was being guided to do this, it became clear to me that it's one thing to be able to tell good stories, to give meditations, to give exercises, which is what I've been doing throughout the writing of the book. I was sharing all of these exercises. But it occurred to me that what's helpful for people is to have just a basic framework. Here you go. Try this, step 1, step 2, step 3. Here are some foundation principles that will carry you through. So I created this framework, which when I shared this book and when I do workshops on it, people go, wow, this is great. At the end of the book, you just are like, here you go, folks. Here's the framework you can use. If you like the ideas, if you're following me through this whole book and these exercises, use this framework. So the framework really is based on how do we step through the doubts, worries, fears, stress that we have on a foundation of faith, commitment, and gratitude. And through that foundation, which I can talk about those as well, we can then take the steps that we need to get to where we ultimately want to go. For all of us, where we ultimately want to go is to be in a place of greater love, to be in a greater place of understanding, to be in a place of greater joy. And there's a way that we can get there.
Yeah, there's a deep need in the clients that come to me for readings. I hear all the time they're in different stages of finding happiness, peace, or some type of acceptance of what's going on in their life so they can move forward. Can you high point the 7 steps for us?
Sure. Kind of got sidetracked on that.
No, not at all.
So the first step is have a clear vision. What is it that you want to create? What do you want to manifest? How do you want to live? What are the things that you really want to make sure you have in place in your life? Now, it may be for some people, they're trying to get through an illness. In fact, when I did a program on this, I had a woman who was calling in from Ireland and she was going through cancer. This process was extremely helpful for her to go through her chemo process.
Sometimes people that are either aware that they're near the end of their life or they are suffering a chronic illness, they feel like spiritual principles, other than some of the more general ones, they're easy to apply when we're in a regular state of being. But when our health is tearing us apart or we're facing imminent transition, that they might not be. So I'm really tickled that you use that as an example.
So once you identify your dream or your goal or the shift that you want to make, that's the first step. You got to get that really clear in your mind, because it's based on this notion that energy flows where attention goes. So if you know what it is that you want to create, you can draw your awareness, you can draw your attention, you draw your energy to that, and you keep coming back to that vision. The second step is acceptance. You have to accept I am where I am. The only way I can move forward is to accept this is exactly where I am right now. If you keep wringing your hands and go, oh, I wish things were different, I wish things were different, that doesn't do you any good. You got to accept, first and foremost, you are where you need to be. You're exactly where you need to be. You can only move forward from the place where you are. The piece that's really powerful when I do this work with people is when they can really sink into this place of acceptance. They come to a place where they really get that they're not a victim. Whatever brought them to this place, and it's in this moment, in this time, accepting that today is the day they can make the change, that they claim their power, and they don't see themselves as a victim of, oh, woe is me, oh, poor pity me, because that'll deplete your energy. So once you get that, you accept that all your life experiences have brought you this moment, that everything that has occurred to this place has brought you to this moment, and now is the moment where you can grow and change and shift and learn. The next piece then is this place of awareness. How do you shift into awareness of those blocks and those barriers that keep you from moving forward? I call them your self-limiting beliefs. What are those patterns? What are those beliefs? What are those internal messages and that internal dialogue that keeps you stuck?
Yes.
You can't get rid of it if you're not aware of it. So we do some exercises around being aware of what those self-limiting beliefs or those blocks or those barriers are.
And there might be things that we thought we'd worked through already.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's so many levels of recovery and so many levels of awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, in the book, the diagram that I drew, I talk about it as steps, but it's really more of a spiral, because we can do the clearing, we can do all these, and then we get to a new place. But guess what? We come back to where we are, but at a different or higher level. So we're always coming back to this place of awareness. We're always coming back to this place of acceptance. We just do it maybe better, maybe quicker. We do it for different areas of our life, but it's not just you do it once and then you're good.
A new understanding, seeing it.
Exactly.
Darn it, I'm still codependent. Thought I was over that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So once we get to that place of awareness, so whatever is the pattern or the block or the self-limiting belief, then we can go the next step, which is to release it. Letting go of the attachments, letting go of the judgments or the resentments or the shoulds or all the things that we become aware of. We can then release those. Later, I know you want to do an exercise. One of the exercises I was going to do was to do a releasing exercise that really can help people as they're going through this process.
Releasing can be extremely profound.
Absolutely. Then once we get to that place, we start to now claim our power and our destiny. We start to claim that we absolutely can be this powerful conscious co-creator that we want to be. And once we can get into that place of claiming, we start to build up our energy, and we really understand that we truly are a divine expression, and we can call in the guides, the angels, knowing that they're there to support us. What we're here to do is basically our conscious evolution, which is what this whole game is about. And then the final step is, after we get really good at this, it's just practice. It's this practicing this of creating this personal mastery where every day we're in this flow, we're in this cycle, we're calling in our guides, we're aware of what's happening, we're releasing what's happening. It's an ongoing spiritual practice to help us keep stepping forward.
But I think it must be self-perpetuating, because before you start dieting and exercising, it looks like insurmountable. But once you get into the process, it's sort of self-perpetuating in the sense that you feel so much better and your energy rises. So I would imagine it would be the same with these spiritual steps.
Absolutely. I just can't even tell you how many times when I've gone into that place of doubt or fear, I'm able to step through it so much quicker than I did 2 years ago, 5 years ago, and certainly 10 years ago. And it's not that we're not going to have stuff that stresses us out. I mean, that's ridiculous. We're in this earth suit, right? So,
Right.
we're going to have emotions. We're going to have our biases. We're going to have our judgments. The question is, do we step through it quicker or not? Do we let it keep interrupting us, tripping us up, putting us into these dark pits that we can spiral down? Or do we catch ourselves and spiral back up quicker? Step 7 truly is being in that place of mastery where we are standing between the two worlds, and instantaneously, as we're in the midst of the struggle, we're able to see what's going on for the spiritual lesson that evolves.
Did you have an example maybe of someone who has worked through this process?
A quick example of how this just came up really recently in my life. I was working through some legal documents. You used to do real estate, and I know that you know what legal documents and contracts look like. Right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
If anybody's ever dealt with any kind of legal document, I swear if there's any profession that wants to be based on fear, it's the legal profession, right? I mean, you read through these documents, it's like every single imaginable bad outcome that possibly could happen, they're going to write it into the legal document to try to protect you. So I'm reading through this, and I kid you not, this was a 75-page legal document, and the more and more I'm reading it, the worse I'm feeling. I'm like, oh my God, I'm thinking of all the horrible scenarios that could possibly happen. And I'm like, talk about digging myself into a hole. I was just going down fast. And I literally, after about 20 minutes of this is where I caught myself. I was like, oh my, I could just tell. I just like, my soul was just getting sucked out of me. I was like, I got to stop this. Stop, cancel, stop, not going there. And I put the document down. I got up, I took a deep breath, and I was reminded, and this is one of my themes through so much of my work, I was reminded of my own mantra. I have to walk the path of love, not fear. As soon as I dialed into that energy, I was like, okay, I'm not going to let this document hold this kind of energy over me, because it was just really bringing up a lot of fear. And I went back to it and I said, all right, if I'm truly walking the path of love, not fear, what do I want to do with this document? And I had just a completely different reaction and approach to the kind of changes and edits and all the things I needed to do with this legal document. It instantaneously put me in a different mindset and allowed me to craft the wording and to work on this document in a much more powerful and effective way.
Yeah, so as you were able to release the fear, you did take your power. And then knowing that you weren't vulnerable, that you have the authority and the power to take action when needed, that is beautiful.
And as I'm still reading through these documents and I'm still like, okay, the fear's coming up or whatever, I then just said, you know what? No. I have a team of angels who work with me. I have St. Michael and all these other people and other spirit guides that I've been working with all these years. There's no way they're not going to be working with me 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. It's like not going to happen.
Right. Haven't let us down yet. So.
And then I was like, okay, whatever. I don't have to worry about all these horrible scenarios this document's trying to bring up for me.
You described 3 foundation blocks for making lasting changes in people's lives. And I'm curious about that because sometimes we have good intent, but so what are those blocks for making?
Foundations.
Yes.
Cornerstones might be another way we could go. I mentioned them just briefly earlier. Faith, commitment, and gratitude. And I tell you, this faith piece really is one of the biggest ones. Kind of going back to this whole legal example. It was when I was reading the document, I was losing faith. Like, whoa, wait a minute. We're my team of angels, And once I could dial back into that, it was like, boom, now all of a sudden my foundation was strong again.
Faith in this sense isn't in a religious context at all. Actually, it's just that the systems that are behind the operation of the universe however you perceive them to be executed, they always work for the good. Things work out. There's always something positive that follows. And looking for those high points, you had said something about energy flows where attention goes. I always say energy follows focus. It's interesting how, we can encourage ourselves in difficult times.
And even just the morning that I was going to see the attorney and was having a conversation literally like a half an hour before I was supposed to go, that kind of got me spun up again. Whoa, I need to pray here. I mean, that was like so clear to me. I need to get myself back. And I remembered the unity prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
I wanted to ask you, with your permission, if you would share with us the 4 main principles for manifesting your heart's desire from your book, Staying Grounded in Shifting Sands.
We talked a little bit about the transformational process, which is about how do we create what it is that we want to bring forward in our lives. And we do that by focusing on the vision, by having a sense of acceptance of what's going on in our life and the awareness of our self-limiting beliefs. We move through releasing those to really claim our destiny. So the transformational empowerment process is a really powerful tool to allow us to create what we want to experience in our life. There's a bunch of other great manifesting tools that we can use. I do a workshop on tools for manifesting. One of the tools that I like is the 68 seconds of bliss exercise.
We can all use that.
If you have something that's important to you that you want to manifest, whether it's a relationship or you're going to work and you want to have a meeting go well, it could be really anything that you want to have be a success for you. Really get yourself in that place of visualizing clearly what that experience is and dialing in your energy to really get in that place of feeling what it feels like to be successful in that experience. You keep just going back to, it's like, oh, it just feels so good. I can't wait when this is happening for me. I know that when I'm in the middle of this meeting, everybody's going to understand it and things are going to be really clear. I can see myself so clearly making the sale that I want to make, and it feels so good to be able to take that check to the bank. Yes, hallelujah, right? So,
Yes.
So whatever you need to dial into for 68 seconds, you hold in your awareness that energy, that juice, that emotion, really feeling it into your body and bringing it in so it's alive within you for those 68 seconds of bliss. And when you're bringing it into that 68 seconds of bliss, you then bring that out. You send that energy, that wave, that pulse of that bliss out into the universe, out into the way in which that's going to be manifold and manifest into your life. It's a fabulous, feels so good, and powerful tool and technique to use.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you. Well, I know our listeners are curious to hear what it is that you'd like to share from your tales from the other side. I know in your work, I'm sure some interesting encounters with the other side. And so would you share a tale or two?
Sure. I do various pieces of work as we've been talking about. I do coaching for folks, spiritual coaching, job coaching, those kinds of things. And I always set the container for the work that we do, that the right highest good is going to be done. And I call in my guides, my teachers, my angels, my spirit team to work with me. When we get in the middle of a situation, sometimes the client may be struggling with something, I'm just keeping dialing in, and inevitably a thought comes into my head that I know is an inspired thought that's coming from someplace else. And I'd be able to then share it with a person, and they're in that place of going, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I need to know. So I love being able to stay open and allowing those downloads, so to speak, to come through me. Another way that I use these is in my shamanic journeys, is a much more intentional way that I'm standing between the two worlds. Because I am quite literally, as I'm doing my drumming, I am calling in one of my powerful spirit guides, White Eagle. And White Eagle is showing me the journey as I'm in the middle of the journey. So that when I'm drumming it and I'm describing it for the people, I'm basically getting the vision through White Eagle and presenting that for the journey that the other people are going to experience.
I think of that as being sort of the lead bird in the flock. And it's like a V of birds. Each of us takes a different position at the front. In doing that, you're leading them through that.
And what's always so funny at the end of shamanic journeys, because while I'm describing what I'm seeing and I'm feeling it and helping bring it into being, they're experiencing it, each of the people in the journey, in their own way. And it's so funny to me afterwards when people share, some people say, oh, I didn't get that we were going to a waterfall. I missed that part, because they're
right.
something
Because
else.
they went where they're supposed to. Absolutely.
Or they may connect. Like I had one woman, powerful. Oh, it was so powerful. She's done a bunch of journeys with me. She was like almost in tears. She said, oh my God, my father came through and there was so much healing that took place with him. And I didn't say anything about talking to your dad or calling it. But that was clearly what she needed for her journey, for this really profound healing to take place. I love doing that kind of work with people, allowing the spirit guides to work through me as I then share the journey. But in doing it, we're creating the sacred space that they then individually go on the journey that they need for their growth and their healing.
Share, if you will, a specific example of either something that you experienced or something that one of your clients experienced, in general, obviously, protecting their identity.
Again, gosh, there'd be tons that I could share with that. So one of the other ways I'll share that I do this work is when I'm doing Reiki or energy work with people. And again, I set the container. I'm calling in my guides. I call in their guides. We do the work together while they're on the table. And during my doing the energy work, I will often get visions. I will often see things unfold for me, and I will do the clearing and the cutting of the cords and the karmic attachments or whatever. Yes. And they too, as they're laying on the table, may get images, may feel clearing. And oh my gosh, people will talk about feeling something leaving their body. They'll talk about feeling something like lift off of their arm, or feel like something's kind of being pulled off of them. They may describe feeling maybe this like blackness or this heaviness be releasing. I can see sometimes when I've seen something from a past lifetime that I'm clearing out, and as I'm clearing it out, they can say that that's when they're feeling whatever is the clearing that they need to do. And there's so many stories I could share, obviously without breaking confidentiality, but in a general way, it's really powerful. I'll connect with my guide. And when I'm doing my energy work, either during the shamanic stuff or when I'm doing Reiki, I work also specifically with St. Michael and St. Germain and some others. And I always know when Michael is with me because I get a tingle in my left shoulder. It's a very distinct tingle.
Specific, yes.
Very specific. It's a specific sensation, and it's always in the same location. And I know that Michael is with me. So yes. When I get Michael coming through, I'm like, okay, well, we need to do something here. We need to cut a cord of attachment. We need to do something more powerful here. And that's always my sign that I need to be working with Michael for something. When I'm doing clearing work and healing work, often I will get the energy of St. Germain, which is this really strong, intense flash of heat. I mean, it's like it's burning through me, and that's then going to be what's burn and clear whatever needs to be cleared for the person that I'm working with. So those are two physical sensations that I have that I know when I'm doing this work, it's coming through for the clearing and the healing that needs to take place.
Yeah, that's interesting. I also work with St. Germain sometimes. When he comes in, it's like, I hope I have several layers of clothing so I can remove a couple and still be discreet. Because the energy is so hot. It's just absolutely like completely electric hot. We're mentioning about things lifting off of people, heaviness or attachments being released. There are the things that we put inside our own minds and carry with us emotionally that have been implanted through our childhood or through our growing up and our life experiences that create these blockages in our thinking. You talked eloquently about that as well. And for some of our listeners that might not be so familiar with attachments can be formed by other people because we're all connected. There's a web of life that connects all of us. There's a positive and negative cord for every person. If somebody around us or an entity around us has a more negative vibration, if they can harmonize with our negative thinking or our fears, they can create an attachment sometimes visualize cords along the spinal column, etc. And by releasing that type of energy, it frees the person from having that connection by raising their own vibration. Linda, I'd like you to contribute to that as well, your explanation of that for our listeners that might be less familiar with that process.
There's certainly different ways that people may get that attachment. It may be a past life thing that they've carried through. There's a soul or karmic contract or a soul agreement that they have. Either they don't need it anymore, particularly if someone's taken a vow of poverty or those kinds of sacred vows in the past, and they realize I need that in this lifetime, it doesn't serve me. We can cut those cords of attachments. Somebody may have voluntarily in a past life given their life for the sake of somebody else. Maybe they were a soldier, parent, or something. And whatever they may be carrying from that lifetime may come through in this lifetime. Again, it's not needed in this lifetime, so they need to clear it away. So there's all sorts of reasons why people may need to do this kind of clearing and this releasing for their soul's journey for this particular lifetime. We're often not even aware of it.
I want to ask you, I probably shouldn't have done this on the air, but I'm trying to put you on the spot, that maybe you'll come back sometime and talk to us about some of the shamanic journeys and experiences. You're a leader in that arena, and maybe also about releasing karma in this life, because it's fascinating to me that even things that we've decided at the soul level before we came into body state, we can release. If we can bring our vibration and our perspective and awareness high enough, we can release those things.
And that's exactly what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about our conscious evolution. We can consciously say, I've learned what I need to learn. I don't need to experience it anymore. I've got the soul lesson, or I've made the healing or the forgiveness or whatever it is at that deeper soul level we've needed to do. And now we can say, I'm done with that. Let me move on to the next highest vibrational level for my soul growth and soul purpose.
We often think, oh, well, when we leave this body, then we've achieved our soul purpose and it's time to rest and recover. And in some cases, that's true. But isn't it amazing that those things can be released before our transition so that we can live a more abundant and happy life? Linda, when I asked you to join me on the show and was so happy that you decided to, I challenged you to bring an exercise that people could do at home to build their intuitive skills. What have you got for us today?
So what I thought I would do is a bit of a shamanic meditation. It's a meditation where I'm going to use my drum.
Okay.
And so I just want to invite people, if they want to experience this with me, to go ahead and close their eyes and get into a place where they're comfortable, where they won't be disturbed. Obviously, don't do this in the car if you're driving.
You're telepathic. I was thinking, unless you're driving.
Right. So I'll just start. And what do we have, about 5-10 minutes for this?
Yeah, we've got about, let's say, 6-ish.
6. Okay, sounds good. So I'm just going to invite people to get to where they're comfortable. Have your feet on the floor if you're sitting up. Put your hands on your lap. And take a slow, deep breath in. And let it out. Allow your body to start to relax. Draw your awareness into your breathing, paying attention to how your body rises and falls on each in-breath and out-breath. As you begin to center, as you begin to allow your body to be at ease, I want you to call forward in your mind something that you are ready to release. Perhaps it is judgment. Perhaps you had an argument and you want to let go of the anger or the energy from the experience. Maybe you need to release a resentment that you're holding. Maybe there's a behavior or a belief that you recognize you need to clear. Bring forward one thing that you are ready now at this time to let go of any attachments anything that no longer serves you, that you want to release and let go from your life. Bring it into your mind now. And now I want you to imagine that you are standing in a field, an open field. There's grass and wildflowers around you. Now I want you to spread out a blanket in the grass. Feel how the grass feels beneath you. See the colors of the blanket. Feel the textures of the blanket as you have it laid out in the grass. And now onto this blanket, I want you to put anything that relates to this thing that you are releasing. Perhaps you write some words on a piece of paper and you put those on the blanket. Maybe there's an object that represents what it is you are letting go, and you put that on the blanket. Whatever it is that you are ready to release in some way, symbolically or physically, put it on the blanket, knowing that you are ready to let it go, ready to release it. And then you pick up the corners of the blanket and you pull the corners together as if you're making a satchel with the corners of the blanket. And what is being released is in the center of the blanket. And you take a rope or a string or a cord of some sort and you tie it around the corners of the blanket so that you have this bundle of the things that you are letting go. And then I want you to call down a hawk or an eagle, a spirit guide. As you call down this hawk or this eagle, you hold up the bundle in the air. And you see the hawk or the eagle come down, and with its talons it takes up this bundle. And it flies out, up, into the light, into the spirit world. As you watch this beautiful winged bird carry your bundle away, you feel a lightness within you. You feel a completion. You feel a clearing. Feel how it feels in your body to be fully released of this one thing. And then you draw your hands to your heart. Putting your hands over your heart, you now send into your heart, into your very being, light and joy.
Thank you, Linda. We appreciate it. You can find Linda at lindajferguson.com, and you can find me at mediumtraceylockwood.oom. And just remember, it is never inappropriate to be kind, and without integrity, you have nothing. Thank you for joining us.